Yeah, get used to that screen.
Everybody's waiting for you!
Greetings, my little mosh pit, and I've got to be honest, this video is tricky for me due to a multitude of reasons. First off, the game I'm discussing isn't even out yet at the time of writing this. The game in question, titled Brush Burial Gutter World, was provided to me for free by the game's own developer, Knife Demon Software, as the game itself isn't set to release publicly until November 19th. Yeah, believe it or not, somebody willingly gave me early access to their video game, entrusting me, of all people, to write a video basically acting as advertising for the game in question. Don't worry, I'm just as shocked as you are. Now, thankfully, the developer isn't chinning me down Jigsaw style and controlling my speech, so I can still provide you all of my typical brand of comedic commentary as I discuss my own first impressions with this game. I made the personal choice to only try out 2 of the game stages for this video as to avoid spoiling the entire experience before the game actually releases. A choice that I view as honorable rather than lazy. Those levels were St. Tavel and Chugmart. Now, before we start talking, I feel it's important to be transparent with all of you and say that I am very unfamiliar with the immersive sim genre. My only real experiences with immersive sims are Cyberpunk 2077 and Postal 2. So undoubtedly, I'm going to be less knowledgeable on the subject of how games like this should be structured when compared to others who would likely have Deus Ex running through their bloodstream. However, it's not like I don't understand the core values of the genre. That being to give players multiple ways to solve an objective. I love that kind of shit in other games, so why wouldn't I love it here? The game's visuals from the get-go piqued my interest. I'm a big fan of the recent uptick of these low-poly style throwback games that try to emulate the graphical aesthetics of older 3D consoles, and BBGW is definitely on par with others I've played in the past like Pseudo Regalia, Ultra Kill, and Tony Hawk's Jet Grind Undergrind Mean Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Though if I could be honest, my main interest in this game first sparked from its main protagonist, Fennell. This curvaceous, spider-like demon lady who takes assassination jobs and thus gives you an excuse to engage with the gameplay. Obviously, a character like this would catch my attention. I like sexy girls after all, if my work doesn't give away that fact. So it caught my attention, and one blue sky reply later, I bumblefucked my way into making the video you're watching now. I'm gonna mention the subscribe button now in hopes that it does the glowy thing, but it probably won't because YouTube doesn't know what I'm saying 80% of the time. Anyway, Flannel is assisted by her, I assume, boyfriend, based on how they talk to each other, named Sig. There's a real dreary vibe to the game's world. Everything feels so quiet and dingy from what I've played, and it really sells the game's intended atmosphere. As for the gameplay, there's a lot going on. Climbing, it's kinda jank. Combat, it's kinda jank. Stealth, also kinda jank. Yeah, there's no getting around it, this game is Kino jank. For those unaware, Kino jank is a term that I made up to describe games that are rough and unpolished but are still really enjoyable in the hands of the right kinds of people. Kino jank games are ones I have a soft spot for. Games like Rumble Roses, Lost Solicite, and many others I haven't talked about in videos before come to mind as examples of Kino jank. BBGW is 100% Kino jank. In a way, it feels like I was destined to get this opportunity to talk about the game before anyone else. If the intro doesn't give it away, I'm not good at this game. Like at all. But the game opens with a disclaimer about how there's no mid-level saves, meaning dying sends you back to the start of the mission you're playing. It's like those roguelites all you new gens love so much. At least, y'all gotta like them since they take up 40% of the indie game market. However, unlike a roguelite, there's no randomized items, so a player can easily learn the layout of a mission through trial and error to eventually gain the ideal pathway for them to complete Fennell's contract. And since the maps are ever connecting and there's multiple ways to gain access to the places you need to go, players aren't restricted to a singular way to complete their goals, as I mentioned previously. In fact, according to the Steam page, you can complete the entire game without ever needing to kill anyone except your targets. So all you Delta Tail and Underrune people can bask in the glory of a near pacifist route in your game about the hissing spider lady with a shapely ass. Now, I suck at this game. I really cannot stress enough that I suck at this game. But I also adore what it's doing all the same. I feel like this game's biggest influences, if I had to hazard a guess, are Thief and Hitman. I can already imagine this game gaining a small but passionate community of speedrunners who share notes in their public Discord servers about ideal pathways and methods to execute their targets with the least amount of time taken. The game's clearly focused on being replayable and for players to gain improved skill level through playing the levels over and over and over again. Over the course of my own replays of St. Tavel in particular, I kept learning new things about the map and where things were placed. It really does make you feel that sweet, juicy eureka every time you figure out new ways to get around once confusing obstacles. This game is rough. Its gameplay loop is likely to filter out the average Nintendo playing hipster who doesn't know what a Metroid is. But It's 100% going to attract the kind of Kino jank loving freaks who spend their days drawing Has-Been Hotel girls half naked and spending way too much money on their OG Xbox game collection. You know, like me. You want to go in loud and kill every single living person in the map? You can. You want to be a sneaky little spider and avoid direct conflict without any error? You can! You want to do some weird thing I haven't even begun to figure out because you're an insane person who breaks every game you touch? Well, I like to ask your therapist how you're doing, but you can! Brush Burial Gutter World is a stealth game that really does feel like an accurate callback to the old school PC games from the Y2K era. And if you or a loved one were affected by the fact Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 was actual dog shit,
normies,
then I'd highly recommend you buy Brush Burial Gutter World when it releases on November 19th, 2025. I'll link the game's Steam page below so all of you can go and wishlist it. I want to once again thank Triss of Knife Demon Software for taking a chance on my stand-up comedy stage disguised as a YouTube channel. And if nothing else, I hope this video at least gets more eyes on this game, because like I said earlier, I am almost certain that if the right people find this game, it'll spawn a passionate community around it upon release. Thanks for watching, play Jet Set Radio Future or something.
And you're choking up because you could never chew well. You're spitting, coughing up a lung 'cause you're smoking cigarettes. And I'll bite my lip instead of the tongue when I say we keep both using fix.
That's not relevant to the rest of this video. I've just been playing a lot of Jet Set Radio Future lately. It's really good.